Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing my top 7 favourite side characters from the Musketeers. And this is part of the Musketeer May that I've been doing. And I have 3 more videos in this little mini month-on thing themed. So I'm excited, but this is specifically going to focus on my favourite characters outside of the core 4 Musketeers, so outside of Porthos, Aramis, D'Artagnan and Athos. And I will do a video on why I love those 4 individually, and I am going to do a separate video on why I love Porthos so much, but these are just characters outside of them specifically. And I have a few that I want to get through, so I'm going to do 3 honourable mentions and then we'll start with the top 7 because I feel that these need to be talked about. Honourable mention number 1 is Charon and Flea from the episode The Homecoming, which was season 1. I love these 2 characters individually and I think they worked well together. It was interesting to see Porthos's oldest friends and love interest. It was interesting to see the dynamic, and it was interesting to see where Porthos came from and the world that he came from, and I really liked them. I really think that there was much to explore with Charon and Flea respectively, and I would have liked if they had brought Flea back in like season 2 or even season 3, where it would have been nice to have a scene where Porthos went to walk among the beggars and prostitutes again to see Flea before he went off to war or something like that, because I would have thought that would have been really cool. But I really loved those 2. I loved the actor of Charon. I thought he was really good, and he was, again, he had just had this magnetism that drew you to him. And Flea's actress was really, really good as well. She really gave a stunning performance, and I really love those 2 characters together and apart. Honourable mention number 2 is Alice, who was a small role in one of the earlier season 1 episodes. I think, yeah, it was season 1. This was a Porthos-centered episode, because, of course, and it centered around Alice being the first ever love interest we got specifically for Porthos. The circumstances were not that great, but they had good chemistry together, and Alice was an actually intriguing character. She was the widow of a candle maker, and she just had this life about her, and she and Porthos courted for a bit, and it wasn't until Porthos went... What is it? There's nothing out there, okay? There's nothing out there. Nothing out there, okay? Hello? Yes. She and Porthos had great chemistry together, and it wasn't until Porthos invited her to a tournament where she was like, I can't do this, I cannot be a soldier's wife. I really think that I would have liked to see her again, but I understand that obviously because Porthos loved soldiering so much and he wouldn't give it up, that they wouldn't exactly been a best fit, but I would have liked to see more of her being just friends with Porthos, because I thought they had a good connection. And my first honourable mention goes to King Louis himself. I was not fond of the king in this show, at least for the first 2 seasons, and then in the 3rd season he really grabbed my attention. Because in the first 2 seasons he played the fool, the person who didn't care as long as it didn't affect him or having fun or everything, and I got so annoyed with him because it's obvious that, you know, the Red Guard and the Cardinal are shady people, and it was just, he's oblivious to this, and I was just like, ah! But season 3 happened, and after stuff that had happened in season 2, we saw a different side of the king who started to take his role a bit more seriously. And while he still believed the quote-unquote villains of the series, rightfully, nearly almost every time over, Treville or the Musketeers, and, you know, the Musketeers had to prove that they were, again, the better force, I think he was really good. He got a grip and actually brought himself back down to reality. And the only reason he's an honourable mention is because I just had so many issues with his character in the first 2 seasons that really he only was redeeming in the 3rd season for me. Like, there were a couple of moments in season 1, 2 where I was like, yes, this is a good character, especially in the season 2 episode 6 episode Through the Glass Darkly, which really just cemented him as one of an intriguing character for me. But season 3 was by far the best portrayal of King Louis in this series. So moving on to the official list. At number 7 we have Milady de Winter. Milady de Winter is one of my favourite female assassins. She and Athos's past is so intertwined, and it's such a dynamic that it's a toxic one, but it makes for good TV. Like, there is so much angst between these two, and especially not only with her relationship with Athos, but her relationship with her identity for herself. For years she's been this ruthless assassin, and she starts to go through a change after she does not get the revenge that she desired on Athos. And it was really a shame in the 3rd season how they just let her be this assassin instead of giving her some sort of redemption that she rightfully deserved. I really think, even though she, you know, it was not good for her to end up with Athos anyway, because that relationship is filled with so much toxicity and so much angst and just so much history. It would have been nice to see her give up, like have this one last assignment and then go off to another city to live a different life or something, because I really felt that she was hard done by the end of the season 3, but she still remains one of my favourite anti-heroes. She's smart, complex, intriguing. I love her sassiness and just her overall relationships with the Musketeers, and like I said, her and Athos's past is particularly intriguing, but yet so angsty, and oh, I love it so much, even though at the end of season 3, like the beginning of season 3, I'm like, you better just have some sort of resolution where those two get separate happy endings, because I didn't want them to end up together, because it would have just been so disastrous. In my opinion, it would have been disastrous, because there is so much history there that it's not good. Number 6 is one that I'm excited to talk about, and that's Emil Bonilla, who was in 2 episodes in an entire series. One which was Commodities, which I discussed on my top 10 Musketeers episodes list. Another one is called The Queen's Jewels. In both instances, this character was the funniest person on screen. He is played as a pathetic villain, and even though he is quite pathetic, his happiness and demeanour and his way of engaging with the characters around him just make it all the more hilarious. He has some genuinely funny lines, and his behaviour, while arrogant, serves as very comedic to the rest of the series, which is all very much serious most of the time. I love him so much, and I give huge props to the actor portraying him, because every time Emil is on screen, I was laughing. I was so hysterical. It was such a good character, and he was great comedic relief to relieve tension, and his character does go through a small change. It goes through a change, but he still retains his narcissistic and arrogant persona, but it's so fun. I find him funny, and I find him one of the best pieces of comedic characters ever, and just every time he's on screen I am laughing my head off because it's so funny. Number 5 is actually a cadet that comes up through season 3. I think he was in the tail end of season 2, but he gained more prominence in season 3. Bruno Jean. This kid, he is a cinnamon roll. He is one of the cadets that is being trained to become a musketeer, and that is his character arc through the whole end of the 2nd season through to the end of the 3rd season, is that his character arc is in training to become the next part of the next generation of musketeers that will precede Athos and D'Artagnan and so on and so forth. He was such a good character. He was kind to Constance. He was support. He was helpful. He was instrumental in so many experiences and battles. Like, I remember there was, I think, this one where they were like trying to get information, and they brought him with them, and he was like aiming this crossbow, and it was so much a teaching moment, because they're all just like teaching him how to be like an interrogator, a musketeer and whatever, and it was so much fun watching him willingly take on all this information and then putting it to use and to help his other cadets as well. And that moment at the end of the season where he finally gets what he's been wanting was epic and brilliant, and it was so heartfelt because you could see how long he's just wanted this one thing, and it was so fantastic. He was a great character, and it was a bright ray of sunshine, and every moment he's on screen he just was so happy and understanding and fighting, and he was such a good character, and I liked him so much. Number 4 is Treville. Now, Treville is played by Hugo Speer, and oh my god, yes. He is the father figure to the Musketeers. He is the figure that they go to for guidance, that they went for instructions, and they went for history. He remained captain even though he loses his captainship and becomes First Minister. He will always be the captain of the Musketeers. He didn't care whether you came from this or this place. He saw what you could be, not what you are. And he was such a warm and comforting presence in the series. He had a good connection with Porthos and all the other Musketeers, and he was very much a grounding character. Like, he pulled the Musketeers back and like reined them in when they were getting too over their heads, which was more or less all the time. He was kind, he was witty, he had some great lines, and I loved seeing him on screen. His back and forth with the Musketeers individually was different every time, and his back and forth with most of the enemies was great, because it was just a character that was so versatile and just had so much history with so many characters. Number 3 is Sylvie. Now, Sylvie is one of my favourite characters. I love that we got a character sort of interconnected with the story arc in the 3rd season. And through my research for this list and, you know, seeing what other people thought of characters, Sylvie is one that some people don't like because she ruins what could have been Malathos, and I just need to get this out there because it's been bugging me. Malathos is a ship that is full of angst and heartbreak and history, okay? And while they did have some moments in season 1 and 2, that relationship would not last due to the fact that they have got such a toxic history. Either one of them's going to try to kill the other one or something. It was never going to be a solid relationship if they chose to pursue it again, because there was just so much angst and just toxic history between them that I didn't see them working. And to Sylvie was a great love interest for Athos and a great character on her, despite that she was there for the love interesting. She was a character on her own. She had her own ideas. She had her own philosophy. She helped people who had less than she did. She was a great voice for the people, and she was a strong voice for the people who were in a position where they had no power. And she confronted Athos on many things. She wasn't just a wishy-washy love interest. She was a fully fledged character. I will admit that her relationship with Athos was a bit rushed, but independent of that, their relationship was one of my favourite relationships in the series, because it took place during Athos's character development, where he wasn't so tied up in this whole idea about love, and when he wasn't so focused and he was getting away from loving Malaya de Winter and moving on to a healthier relationship. And I don't understand why people are like, oh, she's getting in the way of my ship, guys. I don't like her because she got in the way of my ship. Malathos should have happened. It should have been canon. It should have ended with Malathos, and I was just like, ugh. But independent of that, like I said, Sylvie's brave, kind, she's funny, she's very quippy, and every time she was on screen, I wanted to see more of her. I wanted a dedicated Sylvie episode. I wanted an episode of The Musketeers which solely focused on Sylvie and how she became what she became, or her confronting an issue in her past. I wanted that episode because she was such a good character. Number 2 is Queen Anne of Austria. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my queen, and she was awesome. She was working within the system that she was in. She is the Queen of France. She has a responsibility to play this part, and she plays it very well. But she's not only just playing a part. She was instrumental in some of the decisions that was made on the show. She was one of the best characters on there, because at times she just put everyone in their place. She would talk down to the king. She would give him a lashing. She would, you know, remind him of this, this, and this. She played within the strict rules that were set for her, but she made them her own on her own terms. And she was very emotionally strong, and that is a trait that I admire in a lot of characters, is that while, you know, there is this thing about being the tough, badass person, someone with that emotional strength to continue on despite the fact that she's in a very volatile situation, especially in the 3rd season, at the later of the 3rd season, was well done and well deserved. She was just so emotionally strong and so just she was strong and she represented beauty and strength in this gorgeous character. Were all her actions very good? No. Did she make some dumb decisions? Yes. But ultimately, she was a fantastic character and she was very complex and interesting, and I love her so much. She is one of top 5 favourite characters of all time, side or main or not. And the first one, you can probably guess going by the last 3, is Constance. Constance is one of the leading ladies of the show, and she by far is one of the most fascinating. She starts off as this housewife who befriends D'Artagnan and they have some sort of romance there, but she has her own ideas, thoughts and opinions. Like, I remember there was this one episode where a cousin or a niece or someone came to live with her, and the niece was like, my father's going to marry me off to a 40-year-old butcher and I'm only 17 and whatever. And Constance, I think halfway through the episode, basically went up and explained, you know, to the father the case for the niece, and that was so incredible. She put herself out there. She asked D'Artagnan to teach her how to shoot, how to sword fight. She actually assists the Musketeers on a lot of the missions that they go on, like whether it's dressing up or whether it's like going out and actually putting a sword to a dignitary's neck. And then in season 2, season 3, when she is arguably their best asset at the garrison, she helps D'Artagnan train the cadets. She prepares the food, she prepares the water, makes sure everything's there, and she's very strong. I remember in one episode when Athos came back and the 2 women, the Queen and Constance, who are now confidants at this point, the Queen was asking Constance, oh, we're going to have a look, when am I expecting like a little baby to run around like a little musketeer in training? And Constance is like, I don't know, because I do not want to be it's hard to be a musketeer's wife, and I do not want my child to be a musketeer's orphan or me a musketeer's widower. And that, ladies and gentlemen, just was one of the most like insightful quotes on how she thinks she is a fantastic character, and she's badass. She's everything I like in a character, and that's why she's one of my favourite characters, one of my favourite side characters, because she is instrumental in a lot of things, but she also retains her femininity, and she doesn't try to be something she's not. She does get jealous, she does get all these emotions, and she is human, but at the end of the day, she makes the right choices, and while all of them are not good choices, she does make choices, and she does take ownership of that, and she's a very fascinating and very well-developed character, and that is why she is my #1 favourite side character in the Musketeers. Thank you for watching this video. If you have some favourite characters, side characters or main or otherwise, please leave a comment down below, and who are yours? I would love to know. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!